was leading a DTS in Lausanne, Switzerland. This was during the time I was working in the former Yugoslavia. And so I think it was a small school, maybe 15 students. And it was, Lauren and Darlene had invited me to come to Lausanne to lead the school. And I said yes, because they said I could take the teams back into the former Yugoslavia. Yeah. So, so as we were praying about what God was saying for our outreach, I had two twins, so two brothers, but they were twins. They just had this very strong impression that that we were to form a band, like a musical band. And that we were actually the musicians were actually to wait on God and write songs, okay, that was specifically for the people of Serbia. So we were actually going into Serbia this time. And I thought, okay. So I asked the Lord, and I didn't get any check from the Lord to stop them, and they just were full of faith for this to happen. So I said, okay, let's see what happens. So for weeks, they played music, they wrote lyrics, they found there's 15 students, but they had enough good musicians that they had a drummer, they had everything they needed, right? And so, yeah, here we were in a very small building, and most of the other students were Africans. And okay, so the music of these young people was kind of loud. And it was little bit kind of drums, but not African drums, like, kind of. And so we had to have this big community meeting because they were not sure that this was really God. Right? And Lauren was our bass leader at the time, Lauren Cunningham. So anyway, we talked it through, and the Africans, finally understood, and they blessed us. And anyway, so these young people just kept practicing. So we get to a week before we're to leave, and they had all the instruments, but they didn't have drums. They were borrowing somebody's drums. And so I said to them, where are you going to get the drums? They said, we don't know. Okay, but God's going to do something. And then they said, and before we go, we're actually going to make a record, like we're going to record, because we're not just going to come and play live. We're going to have like CDs that we can give away to people. So anyway, that very last week, they had a speaker who God spoke to, and this man gave his air travel and his honorarium, so the money we had given him, for that, he bought them a drum kit. And the students they were so excited, right? But then he happened to have a friend who lived in Geneva that had a recording studio. No, seriously. And so for 24 hours, they went into that recording studio and they came out with the recording. So now we're on our way to Budapest. We have the CDs cut. We're ready to go. We get into Serbia, and within 3 days, so they just went knocking on clubs in the middle of Niš. So that's one of the cities of southern Serbia. And of course, the war had just ended. These people have been sanctioned. They haven't had internationals come in. So here you have this international group of young people knocking on their door, but they look like professional musicians. They've got a professional CD. We're this international band. And so by the weekend, they had played in the most influential clubs, and they were broadcast on TV over the whole nation. And their message was, God sent us to you, and these are some of the things God wants us to say to you. And it was their lyrics, right? So for 6 weeks, and I'm just watching this. This is a war-torn nation. This is a nation that has been under bombing, right? This is, and I'm sitting, the 18-year-olds are leading us now, right? I couldn't have even imagined a strategy like this, right? And so here we are. And so after 6 weeks, many, many young people came, like 18, 19, 20, 21. Many of them came to the Lord. But 50 of them, 50, started meeting weekly in a church. And so we found a Croatian pastor who wanted to plant a church, but was unable to gather the people. So they worked with us. So when our team left, they pastored this church of 50. And a year later, we went back and started the first DTS in Serbia among those people. Isn't that cool? 18-year-olds who came to me and said, listen, God has spoken. And I was smart enough to not stop them, even though I walked with them the whole way, right? So that's one example. And there are so many stories of how God has moved our mission forward and his purposes forward, right, through young people.